A tradition like no other. Booskies, oopsies, and everything in between.
Is that huge free singing Sinatra?
It's Bob's Bar 2025. Let the games begin.
We had ourselves a day at Bob's Bar 2025. Some of those photos were from Bob's Bar 2024, but we rebooted it, not even at Bob's Bar this year, and we're here to break it all down. This is your full deep dive Bob's Bar recap. We did a lot of analysis on the event on last week's Sunday Watch DA Live, but Aidan and I decided to get together to really pick it apart, where we had expansive time. We could play some footage for you and really dive into it as a true academic exploration. And so Aidan, the Marquette Marvel, joins me now. Aidan, what's going on?
I'm so excited for this. Academic is a great word to describe it because I feel like I'm back in Marquette. Class is in session. We're going to study the film. We're going to see what went right, what went wrong, maybe some tips and tricks for next year.
That's right.
Thanks to Santa Tequila, who throws the best party. Lance Booker is a chugging legend, and he's here saying the Santo is smooth. Is it smooth?
Oh, it's so smooth.
This is it right here. This is it, baby.
You know, talk.
Woo!
That's what it is.
Thank you, Santo.
Santo's in the house.
Just how the show itself, just like, it's not even about sports. It's just like, it's about like DA himself and like us and the listeners, and like it's always broken up with so much like lighthearted good times, and like it's honestly it's hard to explain, but it's been like a big part of my life for the last 15 years on a daily basis. Oh, and even just hearing his voice walking past me in person, it blows my mind.
So this year was unique, and we're going to have some footage that you have not seen before coming up here on this. So make sure you are locked in, subscribe to the channel, make sure you are subscribed, be one with the channel, okay? And so that way you get notified when we do new videos and when we go live on Sunday nights as well. And when we have new Q&DA videos, and when there's new members-only exclusive videos, the Raw Feed series, all of that, make sure you are subscribed. So if we turn back the clock about, 6 months ago or so, I was getting the sense that listeners wanted me to announce it as early as possible, the date of Bob's Bar. And I wanted to as well, knowing that a lot of people were going to be traveling from out of Market, out of this region. So I just ended up saying, like, let's get on top of this as quickly as possible. So I think by January, I was in contact with Mraz about, what date works best. And we kind of figured early summer would be the best because people wouldn't be on vacation yet, hopefully. And so instead of July and August when family vacations are happening, there's a bunch of other stuff going on. Let's try to do this early in the summer, but also when the weather's finally good around here. And that became a dicey proposition, but we had to set this date early. And Aidan, the thing is that, Bob, who is an amazing host and always loves having the shows at Bob's Bar, was undergoing knee replacement surgery, and I think this is back in March. And so Mraz was convinced, like, no big deal. I'm sure my dad's going to be fine by early June, and we decided to do this. We kind of landed on this date because the weekend following was Father's Day, and we wanted a little separation from Memorial Day weekend, which was 2 weeks earlier. So we said, I'm sure Bob's going to be fine by June. But Nancy was terrified. Nancy was like, there's no way Bob's going to be ready to be hosting a party in June. Who knows how it's going to go? And this was even before he was going to have the knee replacement surgery. So this threw a real monkey wrench into the works. You might remember me telling you, Aidan, that, like, I'm working on it. We're going to get the date here soon. I think it's going to be in June, but, like, I don't have the clearance from the Mrazes yet. And that was really holding up the proceedings, I would say, in, like, March and let's just say, like, throughout the month of March, Mraz kept telling me, don't worry, as when Bob has this procedure, Nancy will see how quickly it's fine and she'll ease up. But she kept saying, no, Bob won't be ready.
This was a big behind the scenes point, and the conversations that we had going back as far as, the beginning of the year, really, it seemed like, no big deal. And you had some conversations with Mraz, like you're saying, and also true that we had listeners, both you and I, reaching out saying, when's the date going to be? Because the November one, as you said, was kind of a shotgun. And the whole, we're going to get to Upside Down Mike and how he ends up hosting, but just deserves so much credit. We had to kind of couch it in between. There were some Instagram stories that you saw that, Ruick's Romper Room, all those funny titles of the alternative Bob's Bar. We had to kind of have 1 foot in, 1 foot out with the Mraz family. But no, and then out of nowhere, they show up on June the 8th. So they finally made the appearance. They weren't going to miss it either way.
So this was an unspoken kind of point of stress during the preparation, because I really wanted to get the date out early. I knew that everybody wanted the date out early, but we could not commit hard to Bob's Bar. Now, Bob's is an amazing place because it's a backyard bar. It's where Mraz grew up. It's where we had all the old radio shows. So I started going through the what if Bob isn't ready with Mraz. And we went through, do we have it at a bar? Do we have it a different date later in the summer? Do we have it out in a park where we just like invite everybody to a public space? And then I came to an idea. And I was like, could we have it on like outside your yard, like in the street, because we do block parties there? Could we have it at a neighbor's house? His sister lives on the street. Could we do it there? So we're brainstorming this, and I thought, Upside Down Mike lives in your neighborhood, and he's been a listener for a long time. I was like, I've stayed at Upside Down Mike's house after a block party. I was like, I wonder if Mike would be willing to do this. So we had a two-pronged effort looking at potential bars, sports bars or restaurants, and then also reaching out to Mike. Mraz reached out to Mike, and Mike was like, yeah, no problem. In fact, the date that they're thinking of, the day before, we have one of my daughter's birthday parties. So we'll have a tent, we'll have the tables and chairs. You know what? It's fine by us. So we had this kind of like dual plan here going. The days wore on, and Nancy was adamant. Bob's not going to be ready. But Bob was not, he did not want to call it. But Nancy was like, no. Finally, I said, we got to put the date out. And let's just put the date out. And if Bob's ready by June 8th, we'll do it at Bob's Bar. If he's not, we'll do it at Upside Down Mike's. Mike understood, being kind of the backup. That was the way we were going to play it. We announce it, put it out on social media. Put it out for about 2 weeks. This is the date, starting probably in April. And Nancy reached out to me and said, you actually, Bob did. You can't tell people that it's at Bob's Bar. Please tell them that it's going to be at Mike's house. And this was the first like, whoa, we're not even committing to it potentially being at our place. And Mraz said Nancy was in his ear the entire month. Like, no. So even though Mraz kept telling me it's going to be fine, when we finally get to the date, they're going to want to host it anyway. We had to run the parallel paths, and eventually Nancy was like, you can't tell anybody it's going to be here. And me and Mraz would joke around like, does she just think that Moist Pork and Randy and Ohio are just going to show up to her door, start knocking on the door in the morning? Like, they're going to go to where the party is. Yeah, I don't even have to say that it's not at Bob's Bar, because I'm going to give the address out when we get closer, and that's where they're going to go. Nancy was terrified. Swarms of people would show up at 6 o'clock in the morning looking for Eggs Benedict from her. So we had to start specifying on social media it was not at their house, which is why I said it was at Ruick's Romper Room, Mike Ruick. So that's how it finally comes to be. And then eventually it was just like, it's definitely not going to be there. It has to be at Mike's house. So I did a site check the week before. And Aidan, thank goodness that it was, because as great as Bob's Bar was, this was the perfect scenario and space for the show, because we had a band, we had a tent, we had space to move around, we had chairs and tables. It was perfectly suited to host the type of event that we were going to have.
So just wanted to let everybody know that I've just been inducted into DA's Hall of Fame, the gold jacket, which I'm sure it'll be seen at some point in time. It means a lot to me. The fact that DA has opened my eyes, just being able to know that outside of what I know in my local community, there is a virtual community, which I'm able to meet every once in a while, even if it's just once a year. It really means a lot to me, and all of these people that are here, I feel like we've been friends for a long time.
So, I got the Hall of Famer jacket for the DA show, and this is a little surreal to go from a silly hobby and really not having a fandom and not knowing that much about sports, and having this community that was so welcoming and can really convey that sports don't have to be angry, they don't have to be testosterone fueled rants, and it can be for everyone, and it can take something as general and transcendent as just liking a team, following a certain sport, to friends that I've connected with for years that I didn't get to meet until today, and to be able to share so much of my own life and my own stories and experience, and find people that I relate to and are just so kind and so genuinely excited to meet me and talk to me is a little crazy, but
if anything means anything to you in your life, you want to find one thing that is pure, that is real. Because I learned a long time ago, a wannabe thing, you can go wherever you need to go, whatever rabbit hole you need to go down. A wannabe thing is always a letdown. The real things, they go the distance. And once you feel it and you experience it and you realize it's the real deal, then you're down with it, and thus you realize you have found your fellow DA-liens.
We had a little swing set for the diaper DA-liens as well. No,
right.
It was awesome. We had a cover up underneath our live show setup on the deck to cover my Irish skin from getting sunburned, even though I did wake up the next morning in the hotel like, how the hell am I still red? But that's a conversation for another day. We had the perfect setup. All of our equipment was going to be cooled down. It was a beautiful day. And it was like a concert. We were high above, elevated surfaces above the crowd. And you'll see in some of the pictures that we show, and some of the pictures, especially that Sean and Chelsea were able to take with their pro camera setup. We had multiple cameras. We had a crowd cam that I was handling like I was a director in a studio, as well as the deck cam as well. So the setup, once we got to that day, and you mentioned this on the air on Sunday, all hands on deck. We had to have, I'm setting up the equipment for the show. We had the decorations that Randy and Moist Pork were early risers, so they were able to help us out as well, give us another set of hands. It was I shouldn't say every man for himself, all hands on deck type effort to get this thing on the air by 1 o'clock Eastern time. And we made it. It was a wonderful live show. That hour was, it went by so fast. And that was the most important hour for me to have a good rest of the day. I'm in charge of the 1 hour, and then DA's got the band taken care of. We got the food, drinks, everything after that. The show itself, I think my favorite part was the beginning. We got on the air, and the dulcet tones of Robbie Rosenhaus sings the national anthem, and that kind of sets the tone for the rest of the day.
The prep for this begins with the site, and then it's like everything after that. And so Randy in Ohio told me after last year's party, if you ever need any help organizing any part of this, I'm happy to do it for you. And I was like, that's really, really helpful. Thanks so much. So I put him in charge of music because Randy actually plays in a band in Ohio. It's a Guns N' Roses cover band. And so we heard some of that at the party when he did a little Paradise City as Axl. So I said, you know what? Can you handle the music? I'm sure you have good sources or can sniff out a good band. So him and Beth in Ohio were on it. They were taking care of that. That was a tremendous help. I knew that we had to, have the food and the music and the beer, and that was the basis. But I was like, what else can we do for the party? What else can we do that would make it feel important? And I said, how can I honor the listeners that show up and the listeners that have made this channel, Watch DA on YouTube, but also have been there for CBS and now it's Sirius? How can we make that special? And I thought, what would be cool to do a Hall of Fame for our listeners and the ones that really rise above the rest and have been there through the thick and the thin. And I thought it would be cool to create that for this to be an annual tradition. And so I ran it by you guys and you thought it was a great idea. And then I was like, well, how do we symbolically honor them? Of course, I can just do a toast and say you're in the Hall of Fame, and I kind of knew what the original class was going to be because there are three people that just stand out amongst everybody else. And that is Randy in Ohio and Moist Pork and Kristen in Buffalo. And Randy has come to every event that we've thrown over the last 2 years. He's come to the office party for Sirius XM. He's come to the Bad Bash. He's come to the Bob's Bar in November of last year. He was going to come to this one, helping me out with the band. Like, he makes the trek from Ohio to New York. He came to Buffalo when I was up there for the Bills game. Like, he makes like a 7-hour drive as though it's going down the street to the grocery store. So, of course, he had to be in there. Moist Pork has become like a centerpiece of the entire show as a listener, as a tweeter. And he was at Bob's in November. And he came to Bob's in the summer, the last one we had when I was on the radio. So that was summer 2023. And I always say Kristen in Buffalo would be the captain of my team because she brings everybody together. She went above and beyond for the football food of the week. She took it over and made it even better. Our last year on CBS during football season, it was just those were an easy three to put in. But I was like, how do we really honor them? And I thought, how about gold jackets? So I started sourcing gold jackets online, and I'm like, do we really do like the Canton Hall of Fame football gold jackets, like a blazer? And I was like, I don't think anybody would wear that blazer. It's kind of ridiculous. I was like, what would be a DA show twist on it? And I thought, I kept looking up gold jackets for sale, personalized gold jackets. And then I came across these like satin softball jackets. And I thought, Aidan, these are the perfect symbols because they're kind of like retro. It's almost like the old starter satin jackets or the old like 80s hip hop satin jackets, or the coaches would wear satin jackets on the sidelines. And they have those like cuffs that have the stripes. They could be softball team jackets. They could be bowling jackets. I thought these are perfect. And I'm going to get a DA show patch that me and the spaceship, and I'm going to put that on the side. And that's going to be the gold jackets. And so I got the jackets sourced, and I had to ask everybody for their sizes, but I couldn't tell them what it was for. I had the patches made, and then I had to bring them to a tailor in town and have the patches done. And I brought them in on like a Monday when I got everything in, and I said, I need these by Saturday. And he's like, oh, okay, all right, okay. And I was like, oh, don't say like it's going to be a problem. Like, I need these on Saturday. Like, I'm picking them up on Friday. And to his credit, the laundromat, not the laundromat, he's like a dry cleaner, got it done. He does tailor stuff as well. Got it done on Thursday. So I was able to get them early and ready. And I picked them up. And I said, oh, these look good. And I was picking them up in line behind a bunch of people or in front of a bunch of people. And they looked at me like, why do you have 3 ridiculous gold satin jackets that were just personalized? What is this? But I walked out feeling like $1 million. So I thought that was the event I wanted to be like the centerpiece of the party, so that we kind of had like, okay, here's what the new tradition is going to be. And this is how we're going to kick it off. And I'm not telling anybody besides you what we're doing, and we're just going to like surprise everybody at the party.
The jackets are badass. And as a 24-year-old about to turn 25 in a couple of days, knowing the fashion trends of the generation, that is actually coming back, DA. That
okay.
The like Letterman jacket, puffy football type, high school Letterman type deal is coming back. And having it be in gold, having Moist Pork approve it is the ultimate win, because I talked to him right after the ceremony, which, you know, it was a ceremony. It wasn't taped as part of the show. That was for attendees' eyes only. You got to be the first to see if you actually attend in person. And I thought that was a good breakup between the show and the Hall of Fame. But Moist Pork came up to me right after the ceremony and showing off his jacket. And he was like, man, like, I was like, you're the fashion consultant of the show. If Kristen is the Gal Fieri of the show, Moist has to be the, you know, Damon John of the show, the tailor expert.
Right.
And he's like, even I would wear this. And I'm very picky about what both of us wear on the air. So I think that's the biggest win of all.
Yeah, totally. And Moist was really proud of it. Kristen was as well. And Randy said he was going to hang it in his cab window. He had a big 4x4 pickup truck. He's like, I'm putting this on display during my whole drive back to Ohio. So I thought that was really cool as well. So that worked out great. Like you said, we did a YouTube show early in the day. Doors were going to open at noon, and then we were going to go live at 1. We finally got on site by about 11:30 or so. You and I got to our hotel, which is about 20 minutes away. And to get all the stuff that I needed to the party, whether it was jackets or balloons or signage or beer or whatever, I was like, Randy's like, do you need anything? I'm here early, because he had stayed over the night before. And I was like, honestly, could you meet us at the hotel and bring everything over with us? Because we were going to have to rent an Uber to get over there, because neither you nor I wanted to drive at the end of the night of a day of drinking, you know, at Bob's Bar. So we couldn't have that as an option. So he's like, yeah, sure. So he came early and picked us up. We loaded everything up in the into the 4x4. And what is amazing is, early in the day, you had mentioned this. You and I said we were going to meet at the hotel at 11. And I was like, all right, I'm here a little bit early. I got there at like 10:40 or something like that. And I was like, all right, can't check in this early. So I'm just going to hang out in the lobby. Then I was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom and wash up a little bit, just like, you know, freshen up a little bit and get ready for the big day. So I'm in there, and there's only one stall. It's a small bathroom. I hear the door open up. I leave the stall, and there is Aidan Hatton, the Marquette Marvel, at the sink washing his hands. I'm like, wow, how about this? A million miles away, you're coming in from Boston. I'm down here in New York, and we meet in the bathroom of a Ramada Inn on Long Island as we get ready for this.
Comforted. Very, very different discrepancy to make. That was the perfect omen of my day, because you're right. It was a good 15, 20 minutes where I thought, wow, I made great time. I flew this morning, not literally drove, but I was going to go to the bathroom, get a quick start, just like you said. And the smallest hotel bathroom you'll see, only one other guy in there, and it's the guy to my left. And I'm like, you know what? We're both showing up to the arena early. We're going to get our shots up. Right. And both of us were ready to roll 15, 20 minutes before Randy comes in. And that's the minute that I found out in the bathroom, as we're only one stall, but 2 sinks. So we were able to wash our hands simultaneously. And Randy, DA had mentioned, oh, well, Randy's going to pick us up. All the meanwhile, I'm driving in the morning thinking, okay, great. We're going to park there and then Uber. A, I didn't know how much stuff we had to lug over. And B, didn't know until 5 minutes before that, hey, Randy's going to pick us up. And I'm glad that both those two things came together, because there's no way we would have fit even in an Uber XL with how much loading and unloading we would have had to do. That person would have had to have like a 6-star Uber rating to drive us with how much stuff we had. But you know who does have a 6-star Uber rating? Randy in Ohio.
That's right.
He comes up and he's got the truck. Not only did he have the bed for all of the fragiles, if you will, but then we can fit in some stuff next to me. So DA in the shotgun, Randy driving, me right behind the driver's seat on the left, on the west end zone, if you will. And we had all the stuff lined up. We had some Balloons. We got to tell the balloon story at some point. That was another great omen. I mean, let's just do it right here. We had big balloons that were part of the decoration, as well as all of the signage that you saw on social media and at the show. So all of that is kind of pressed up against my right ear as I have a seat in the truck, but all this other crap is to the right of the truck and in the truck bed in the back, including these two big balloons. One is the number 2 and one is the number 5. Bob's Bar 2025. Here we go. And we get to Mike's house, start setting up, and within the first 5 minutes, Randy or one of you, I don't know who, I'm not going to put blame on anybody, the 2 goes flying. And we're like, well, you know, in the air, gone. Is that a good omen? Is that a bad omen? And another 2 minutes later, sorry, I'll pause there, because we had the 5, and I'm like, oh, great, this is Bob's 5, right? This is the 5th career Bob's Bar show in DA's career. So I'm like, at least we have that. About 2 minutes later, we lose the 5 as well. I don't know how there was like a 2-minute interval in which we had one but not the other. But I believe you have some footage on your phone. I should have asked you for this before we started, but we can maybe insert it somewhere.
It looks so majestic.
All together. They're coming together now.
Are they? Oh, that is great. That's like we let doves fly.
It's the ceremonial. The 2 and the 5 just floating up to the rafters of the sky, the bluish sky of West Babylon, New York, that you'll see. And that was about 45 minutes before gates opened. It was almost like a ceremonial Chinese lantern that goes in the air at the 4th of July.
Being let loose.
Doves being let up. So it was almost like our sacrifice to the heavens, or our, you know, our offering at the beginning of the morning. Underrated moment. I almost forgot about that.
I went to the dollar store to pick up some plates and some forks. I think I was picking something up for the party, and they had these 2 massive 25 balloons for class of 25. These were clearly graduation balloons, and they were already inflated. And I said, I need those. I want those. And so one of the cashiers said, are they for sale? And the other said, yeah, they're for sale. I was like, I need those. So I bought those, brought those home. They were hanging out in my house for like 3 days. I mean, they were massive 25 balloons. And so I put them in the car to drive out to Long Island. Got to get them into Randy's cab, as you said. And this is on me, I had loosely tied them to the fence because I knew we were going to untie it and put it on the easel that was going to hold the welcome to the Bob's Bar sign once the easel was built. And I didn't tie it tight enough, and they just started to blow away. And we tried to grab them, and they went into the sky, as you said. And I have it on camera, and I thought, either this is the best omen ever or the worst omen ever, that the big giant balloons are gone before we even opened up the doors to the party. But ultimately, it would be a good omen. Like you said, it was an offering to the heavens, but it was absolutely hysterical to watch the 2 and the 5 like wobble and float away, blocks and blocks. You could see it because Long Island's so flat. You could see it just drift. We could have probably seen it for 10 miles drifting slowly away as the day began. So that was hysterical. And we opened up the gates at noon, and we had people coming at like 11:45. They were ready to roll. We had I think the crew from Baltimore, Backwards Brian and Chris and Moist Pork, all showed up at like 11:45. So they were ready to roll, and we weren't quite ready. We had to set up the radio equipment, or the online equipment, to do Watch DA Live, the cameras and everything. So I said, guys, will you help fix up? Like, get this thing ready. And everybody pitched in, and that's where Moist Pork built the easel, which held the opening sign that basically was going to be like a wedding or graduation party, like welcome to the event. So he was great, very handy. That's good because Randy didn't know what to do there, and they were under the gun. But Moist, very handy, got that whole thing done. We got the signs up. We got the tent set up. Mike, Upside Down Mike, was working hard to get the table set up and the chairs. His wife, Michelle, was out there, kind of organizing everything and putting the tablecloths on and the side tables and everything for the food. It was phenomenal. It took everybody. So I thought it was a really good sign as well that when you show up to a Bob's Bar event, you actually got to help set up. You don't just get to show up and enjoy. Everyone's got to pitch in. It's a total team effort. It's the training camp of the preseason so that we get to have a great party, and everybody did their jobs. So that was really a cool scene at like noon, between noon and 12:30, is like everybody scurrying, all the listeners scurrying to like set everything up to get the Bob's Bar set, ready to go.
They didn't know it, but that was the final stamp on both Randy and Moist's Hall of Fame resume.
Right. Yeah, right.
They needed that final push to get in. No. Randy, as an aside, as we talk about the setup of all this, he obviously was the Uber back and forth. And as we were getting set up, and as he first drove into the hotel lot to pick us up, gets out of his car, gives DA a big hug, and then turns to me and goes, "Wow, Marvel, you're really tall." I'm like, "Oh, wow, this is great." It was kind of the first inkling of like, "Oh, wow, we get to like see these people in person," because we're in the chat every week. But that's one of those things you can only tell when you're face to face, eye to eye with somebody. Randy, by the way, even taller than I. Yeah. So he tried to grasp at the balloons for a second or two. I think he did a 10 or 20 yard dash to try to do a quick grab, to no avail. But that was his contribution, as well as stocking the alcohol for everybody. That was all Randy. And then Moist Pork, as you said, the easel, that was a high pressure job, Tyrese Halliburton fourth quarter type of thing, because it was probably, like you said, we had 20, 30 minutes before. And I know I was thinking about the equipment set up and how I wanted to get the show ready. So I kind of had to transition to that, and somebody had to man the easel. And I'm not sure what Amazon purchase you made, but it was just this long package, and there were about 8 different letters of pieces. They have like the A post and the A post, and then the B goes here. We got to like G or H, and I'm like, holy crap, I'm kind of handy, but I'm not the handiest. And that's where Moist Pork cemented his resume there to put everything together. You're right. It kind of had the vibe of a graduation party. It was signage in the backyard, drinks for everybody. I'm sure we'll get to the alcoholic contributions that everybody made, between the Spotted Cow from Wisconsin and then a lot of liquor.
Yeah. Well, to pull back the curtain on the signage and the easel, I said to my wife, I was like, I think we need some signage there, but like, how am I going to get this thing done? And she said, well, you can go online. I asked her because she would know like about business stuff, signage. She does all this for her company. She owns a candle company called Scripted Fragrance. And so she does a lot of this type of stuff. And she's like, well, you can go to these websites. And the more that I searched it out, the more I realized like there was a long wait time on getting signage printed and sent back. So I had to look at getting it done almost overnight. So a couple of days earlier, I put in orders to CVS and to Walmart, because Walmart does like a Vista print thing, like it's supposed to be next day. And so I started like timing out, will this be done? Will this be done? So I printed out more than I thought that I probably needed to see if the orders would get done. And one got canceled and one got delayed. I'm like, oh God, we're not going to have any of this. But then eventually I had a yard sign made because it's graduation season. So everybody can do yard signs. And that one was going to be done early. So my wife said, well, I've got an easel if you want to put that up elevated instead of putting that in the ground. I was like, oh, perfect. So she told me she had an easel. She did not tell me it was unassembled. She brought this box home from work. And I was like, now we got to put it together. It's like, yeah, that's the only thing. I'm like, okay. I had no idea. It turned out that all my orders ended up coming through. So I was dotting the map, going to multiple Walmarts and CVS's in the area, going to pick up all my signage So I made this whole run on Friday afternoon getting all the stuff. Ended up being great because we had a bunch of different signs, lawn signs, elevated signs, vinyl signs, long signs, everything. But the easel was, I did not expect it not to be made when I said yes to the easel. So I was so glad a Moist Pork stepped up. So then the party's about set to go. We're good to go. The setup is done. And then we're going to go live on YouTube. And that's when I told Robbie, can you sing the national anthem for us? Now, Robbie was flying in from Minnesota for this event, which is amazing. And Robbie Rosenhaus, for those that don't know the backstory, had been banned once upon a time on the radio show on CBS. He was a part of the show. He's a big personality. He's a great singer. He's kind of like the perfect lounge singer for the show. He was, Robbie Rosenhaus. And then because of some mistakes that he made on social media, we had to ban him. And so once he got banned, we retired his number, rose it to the rafters. He's a big Vikings fan. We pulled the, Mraz calls this his favorite moment in DA show history, but we rose Robbie Rosenhaus's Vikings jersey to the rafters. He sings I Did It My Way by Sinatra. And we have the ceremony. From there on, he could not be discussed. That's why he got the nickname He Who Shall Not Be Named. Okay? So that's how he got the nickname. But before that, it was Huge Freeze instead of Hugh
You just
Freeze.
heard in the open there, by the way. Huge Freeze.
That's right. So then once I left CBS, I felt like, you know what? He can come back. And he was a big part of the Death by Salsa. And then, well, I guess was he banned because of losing the picks, the football picks? There was a whole thing there. I forget. So anyway, he was reinstated with the new show on Sirius. He has not appeared on the radio, I don't think, but he's appeared on our YouTube show. Fresh start. It's like Hollywood Hogan and NWO and WCW. So he got a fresh start, went opposite, no longer a villain, now a hero. And he said he was going to fly in for this and to sing the national anthem. And it is a poignant moment because while everybody's milling about and getting ready and talking, once Robbie began singing the national anthem, everybody did pause and go silent.
We'll have to play some of that here at the beginning because it is just amazing. I'm not sure if you had this on your bingo card in your entertainment career of if you're going to have a native singer that you can just call and have on speed dial. Hey, can you sing a Frank Sinatra? And then at the same time, can you also do a Mentos commercial? And you just can't teach that versatility. And he was, Robbie Rosenhaus, DA-lien or not, one of the nicest people that I talked to that day. And we had some Boston connections that we shared, some Midwest connections, obviously, from his time in Minnesota and my time in Wisconsin. And he is just a salt of the earth type person. You can tell how much he cares about his craft. No, not singing, but actually being on the radio. And that was really the perfect setup. And also, he, as I'm sure you'll get to, kicked off the food proceedings as well with another singing rendition.
That's right. So let's play right now for you some of Robbie's national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
All right, so just an amazing performance by Robbie. As you mentioned, he also performed when we got the food. He was getting us into the mood for eating. That happened at about 1:30. So we're going through the live show on Watch DA Live. It's going really well. We have the crowd shot, which is awesome. Everybody's having a good time already. Some people are coming over to the stage, quote unquote, the stage where we're doing it on the deck. Other people are just kind of like hanging out. It's a good vibe, and it should be noted, weather-wise, the gods were smiling on us because it has rained almost every day for 3 months here in the Northeast. Every single day has been cloudy and rainy mostly. And the week that we did this, it rained Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday was torrential downpour. Saturday was like cataclysmic thunderstorms, which was the day that Upside Down Mike had the birthday party for his daughter the day before, and they had to go inside. Like it was crazy torrential downpour. But Sunday was the break. And all week long, it looked like Sunday was the one good day, and it was going to rain again on Monday. So we got that window, which is why you got to believe the gods were smiling on Bob's Bar and Watch DA Live to have this party. So it was perfect. So the day ended up being great weather-wise. It was actually pretty hot during the day. We do the YouTube show. Babs comes up. Bogues comes up. First time I've seen Bogues since I left CBS. He was unable to make last November's Bob's Bar. And how about this? Of all the things, Pete the Body shows up after telling me for weeks he was not going to come. And so it's still mysterious, Aidan. I don't know whether it was a last-second decision to come or whether he was baiting and switching us to be a conquering hero. But either way, nobody expected to see Pete there. He told us all in the group chat, I can't make it, so I'm not going to be there. And then last second shows up unannounced. And that was a huge roar from me on stage and I think from other shocked bystanders.
On stage, I can tell how surprised you were. I think that was the most surprised I saw you the whole day when I think it was a live interview with Mraz and a Pete the Body comes 1-2 it in. And I think that was clearly a nice little, whoopsie-doo by Pete. Oh, hey, sorry, I'm not going to make it. That feels like a bait and switch from Pete. You know him much better than I. But I have to go out on a limb and say that for as long as you guys haven't seen each other and the tactics that Pete can take sometimes, I have to feel like that was a nice little surprise by him. Just my take.
Probably so. He's a big wrestling fan. And so he knows the art of promotion, of showmanship, and working the crowd. And I think that's what happened here. He knew all along he was coming, but he made it seem as though he wasn't. Very savvy move by a veteran and Pete the Body. We also learned during this segment that Kristen Buffalo has come, and we get the announcement she's pregnant. Oh my goodness. You could almost feel the tent blow up into the wind. My goodness. Again, huge reaction. Kristen Buffalo had found out in February she was pregnant, and she hesitated to announce it. She held it, except for her parents, I think, until Bob's Bar. What a huge news day it was at Bob's Bar.
This originated my favorite picture from the event, which, again, shout out to Iron Man Sean and Chelsea. They took the pro photo of us standing up on the stage as you revealed that in the first 5 or so minutes of the show. Hey, let's give it up for everybody in the crowd. Special shout out to Kristen and Buffalo. She's pregnant. And I'm like, what? I didn't hear that until we went on the air. So it was unbelievable. Of course, I congratulated her afterwards, and she was even ready. She asked me after the show, hey, can I pocket a spotted cow and bring it on my drive home? And I'm like, yeah, of course. She wasn't drinking it. but it was for her friend who was a big fan of the beer. So that caught me so off guard. You know, the celebrity sightings that we'll get into here in a second, as far as the reaction from my circle was pertinent, but as far as a singular moment of the show that really wowed people, it was that somebody had come to the show and revealed that they are pregnant to really the first time in the public since February, which is 4 months. I can't keep a secret that long.
And, you know, it speaks to how important she is to the show that felt like a really big deal. Like Kristen Buffalo is having her first child and she's pregnant and she's however many months along and she's announcing it here and everybody's finding out at the same time. Like that was kind of like earth shattering. It was amazing in so many ways. It was such a moment of joy and happiness. I'm so happy for them. I think they're going to be great parents. Kristen's amazing. Brian's amazing. They're just going to be awesome. But that's the shot, right, where both of your hands are up and one of my hands is up. And that's that shot that Iron Man Sean got. And it's an epic shot of the two of us and reacting to the first time Kristen Buffalo is pregnant. Oh my goodness. So that was so cool. Show goes off without a hitch. That hour flew by. I mean, we just rattled off 5 guests probably, all showed up. And,
probably had many drinks too.
Had as many drinks, right? I was trying to keep it under wraps for the first hour that we were there because we were on the air. And the thing that put me over the edge, I had 1 or 2 beers, maybe just 1 beer during the show, but then Mega Poundage says, do you want a Orange Crush? Now, Mega Poundage comes from York, Pennsylvania, him and his wife. And his wife actually graduated from Syracuse the same year that I did. We didn't know each other there, but 2001. Wow. And so in honor of her Syracuse heritage, she does this Orange Crush, which is like a vodka-infused drink, and she presses fresh cut oranges. And they do them at tailgates. I think they're Penn State fans, if I'm not mistaken, so they do them at Penn State tailgates. They're unbelievably delicious. We know this because 2 years ago at Bob's Bar, they brought them for the first time with a whole fruit press, and I was like, yeah, I'll have one of those. So I was sipping on that during the show, and that probably was the thing that really put me over the edge because if I'm sipping on one beer, a Labatt Blue Light, and then I have that's probably 3 drinks in one, and it's going down real smooth. So that certainly set the base. And then once I had that, I was off and running. Did you have the Orange Crush during the YouTube show?
Yes, during the show, because there was a moment about, 60 seconds before we were going on the air, before Robbie was going to start the "Oh Say Can You See," and you dropped one right next to my computer. And I don't remember I don't know if you remember that, but hey, it was that plus Upside Down Mike dropping a beer to my right as well. I wish I can remember the branding here, but no free ads. His favorite little, it was like a fish something lager. Montauk. Thank you.
Montauk Surf. Yeah.
Montauk Surf drops one there and then drops an Orange Crush. So I'm double fisting.
Wow.
Full to the brim at the beginning of the show. And I'm like, all right, we're here for a reason. And I usually struggle with mixing, but this is a special occasion. That was a theme throughout the rest of the afternoon with Carlos with a K's whiskey lemonade that he brought in a Yingling branded little spout thing that when he offered one to me after the show, Bogish at one point had to instruct him on how to use it properly. He wasn't actually using it. So at one point it squirted out right in his face. But we got that to work. So shout out to Carlos with a K who made that as well. But the Orange Crushes, I think, were the crown jewel drink of the afternoon as far as cocktails go, because I was on the phone with my parents on my drive home the next day, and we were talking about all the stuff that people brought. And I didn't realize it until after the fact that I was talking to my mom that, Orange Crushes, it's huge in Baltimore, Little Mo's town. And my brother Colin lives there now. And we went to an Orioles game last year, had to have an Orange Crush. And that was the first one I had. And I'm like, damn, these things are good. Like,
I mean, especially when they're fresh.
Especially when they're fresh. So Mega Poundage, bringing those from Pennsylvania was just amazing. I think that's my pick for the crown jewel drink of the day.
I know, it was so good, and it's on ice, so it's so cold and refreshing when it's a hot day, man. Those guys, they know how to do it.
Summer wind.
Wow! Wow, really nice. Thank you, Robbie.
Thank you, DA.
Thank you. Wow, that was special. That was. I'm gonna give you a story that nobody knows. This is unspoken at this point in time. I ordered 11 pizzas. I was doing the math earlier in the week with Mraz. How many people we're going to have? How many pizzas do we need? What other food are we going to have? Mraz was going to bring 100 wings, so we had that. But I was like, okay, the pizzas are the thing. He's got a great spot in Babylon that does all these specialty pies. And I was like, I want enough pizza for everybody, but I want a few of them to be special. And I want them to connect with the Hall of Famers. So I got 2 out of the 11. I got 6 specialty pies. So we had 6 specialty pies and then 5 regular pies. 2 buffalo chicken, and that was for Kristen and Buffalo. I got 2 sausage pies, and that was for moist pork. And then I got 2. And I was like, how am I going to get Randy in Ohio a pie? What's going to be his signature pie? And I was like looking through their toppings. Nothing said Ohio to me. Nothing said what he does, like the region of the country that he's from. But I thought, you know what? How about Sicilian? Because Sicilian is such a popular pie. That's the square pie. It's such a popular pie. It's as rich and as great as a regular pizza, but it's just quirky and special and unique enough to where people always remember it. Like, oh, I remember when I had the Sicilian pie. I always will go with it. And I was like, that's Randy. You'll always remember Randy in Ohio because he's so unique that it can't be anybody else. So there was 2 Sicilian pies for Randy. We had them ordered during the YouTube show, and it was like kind of across the lawn, so I didn't ever feel like I could really announce this with everybody listening, like it was a thing. And so nobody knows that that's why I got those pies. And by the time our show was done at 2 and I went over, almost all the specialty pies were gone. There was some Sicilian, but I think all of the buffalo chicken were gone and all of the sausage were gone as well. So I couldn't be like, oh, and by the way, all that pizza you ate in honor of these guys. It had to be when we got them delivered. So there was a bit of a rise from the crowd. You guys know that I love the pops. I live for the pop of the audience. And so we crushed all the specialty pizzas, but the people that were honored didn't even know that they were honored by the specialty pizzas.
That's amazing. I had no idea that you had pulled that off. I did have one buffalo chicken after the fact, after the show. So there must have been some that were lying
there was
around.
A rogue buffalo chicken hanging around because that I couldn't find one.
Heavy dose of buffalo chicken, heavy dose of chicken. That was a heavy slice.
Yeah.
I believe we got some ribbing from Upside Down Mike's wife, who mentioned that there was a better place and that DA ordered from the wrong place. But
wow, I didn't hear that.
Oh yeah. It was either her or Nancy at one point that said, you ordered from this place, but my favorite's actually the one across the street.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah,
I was pointed the direction by Mraz. So what's amazing is that I thought it was very good, although I had mine even after we got off the air. I think I finally had a slice at like 3 o'clock. So it was an hour and a half old or something like that. But Backwards Brian said, DA, that's the best slice of pizza I've ever had. I was like, really? He goes, you can't get pizza like that in North Carolina. He's from North Carolina. He goes, you cannot get it where he's in Elizabeth City, I think. He goes, you can't get pizza like this. So I felt good. At least one person was like, this is epic, iconic pizza. I thought it was very good, but it wouldn't surprise me if there was something even better. I mean, you're on Long Island. You're a hop, skip, and a jump away from New York City. You should have epic pizza wherever you go.
That blew me away. I wanted to mention that, and I'm glad you got to it here because that blew me away. I had no idea until you told me after the day that Brian came up and said, yeah, it was the best pizza I've ever had. And I'm like, is it the setting? You know, it's a party, it's New York. You feel like you're somewhat of a pizza town, but I find it hard to believe that in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, there's not a point better than whatever the spot was.
What are you saying? I think it was, I forget the name of this place. So you're saying that you didn't think it was that special. You think that even in North Carolina, you can get a pie like that.
I hate to be a critic, but as far like everybody knows my coffee taste, but also pizza is a close second. Of I try to get around, find the best, and there must be somewhere in North Carolina that's even better than that. Maybe it's just because the one slice I had was buffalo chicken, and I'm not usually the biggest buffalo chicken guy. Hot take, I'm actually barbecue chicken over buffalo.
Okay.
But 99 times out of 100, when you're rating a pizza, it's got to be either cheese or a pepperoni. I'm a pepperoni guy, but you got to throw a fastball 98 down the middle to see what the actual stuff tastes like. I think some of the specialty things you can get caught in the weeds a little bit, just my opinion.
Okay.
And have I had a better buffalo chicken? Probably. So maybe that threw me off kilter a little bit, but if anything, it just reminds us of the diversity of our show. The audience, hey, nobody's had as good a pizza as we brought to Long Island, so it's a good thing.
Next year, if we do, maybe we'll try the other pizza place or something else. I had reached out to multiple food trucks to try to get a food truck there for food. The only problem with that was going to be everyone's going to have to pay for their food. With this, I can pick up the tab on pizzas, but a food truck's a lot more expensive, so you have to buy your own food. I thought if we had a food truck out there that was really good, people wouldn't mind. But at the end of the day, the minimum cost to have one of those out there, if we didn't fulfill, is going to be like a lot of money. You know, like let's say your minimum cost is $2,000 or something, and you end up spending $700 on food individually, then I'm on the hook for $1,300. I'm like, we're not doing that. So, and some would be cheaper than that, but it was also a whole thing because it's food truck season, so a lot of people couldn't do it. There's also sites to book it, and then they take something off the top, so that was annoying. So I said, let's just streamline the process. Let's go with just pizza, and it seemed like it worked out well enough. Then that brings us to the Hall of Fame induction. So the band is going. I told the band to show up at 3. No. When did we start it?
2 o'clock, no. Right after the show.
2 o'clock, right. They were going to play 2 until 4, right. And then we had the option to maybe go an extra hour till 5. So they begin playing at 2. I said at 3 o'clock, we got the new tradition, which is going to be the Hall of Fame induction. So we got that video ready to go. Let's roll the video of me unveiling the new Bob's Bar tradition.
Means an incredible amount that you guys just made treks from Calgary and Vancouver and Japan and Baltimore and Vegas and everywhere far and wide. I wanted to start a new conversation, a new tradition, and that is a DA-lien Hall of Fame. I thought this was very worthy of bringing everybody together and honoring those that are just cornerstones of what we do. And so, like any good Hall of Fame, we will have gold jackets.
So those gold jackets do look pretty good. All of them wore it really well. I mean, and I think it caught some people by surprise. Although I had to hold the gold jackets in the house in a separate room, and before I had them set up, they were just on the kitchen table, and I was in the other room and I heard Michelle. Actually, I was on the deck with you setting up the audio equipment, and I heard Michelle, Upside Down Mike's wife, come in and go, "What's with those jackets?" So Mike, like, "What are those gross, ugly jackets doing?" And he's like, "That's something DA's got." And I was like, "Oh, initial reaction, not great for Michelle. Not great."
And on the way to the venue, we had to kind of protect him from Randy. If you remember, Randy was the ride over, but they were coming out of the trunk of your car into Randy's car.
That's right.
And we had to find a way to couch it. And I think as he was pulling his truck over, I said, we got to hide this from him.
That's right.
At one point you said something like, he's going to see him. He doesn't know what they mean yet for the ceremony.
Yeah.
But he's certainly going to catch an eye and be like, what the hell are those?
Yep. So we do the unveiling. Randy in Ohio, Kristen in Buffalo, Moist Pork, all get the honor. And when Moist got his, and I was introducing his resume before I said in Moist Pork, I saw a couple of people like put their arms around Moist's shoulders, like, congratulations, man. And it reminded me of those videos that we see when the commissioner of the Hall of Fame for the NFL like knocks on the doors of the Hall of Famers to give them the knock, like, you made it this year, and they're like, oh my gosh, and they have their family around or whatever. It definitely felt like finding out you're in the Hall of Fame and people around you to celebrate was what was happening as I went through the announcement. So that to me was such a cool memory that I'll always have.
It was awesome, and I have the full video somewhere. All
right, what I'm wearing right here is what I hope is a symbol of everything coming together for this amazing event. I printed shirts that had everybody that I thought was the cornerstone of what we do here on the show on one shirt. So you got all the guys from the CBS show, all the guys and gals from the Sirius XM show. We got Raz, we got Babs, we got Britt and Bogues, we got Pete the Body, Lou, we even got Katie Linendahl, and Aidan the Marquette Marvel. Everybody's on the show. This is honestly just representative of all you guys coming out here tonight. It means an incredible amount that you guys just made treks from Calgary and Vancouver and Japan and Baltimore and Vegas and everywhere far and wide. This is a culmination of everything that we do on the show, and it means a great deal that you guys came out here tonight. And so I wanted to start a new conversation, a new tradition, and that is a DA-lien Hall of Fame. I thought this was very worthy of bringing everybody together and honoring those that are just cornerstones of what we do. And so, like any good Hall of Fame, we will have gold jackets.
Oh shit!
So, let's see if I can get the sizes right.
Hopefully, there's an XXXL for Badlands.
There is a guy that has been through like 5 different station events. He has driven from Ashtabula, Ohio. He has done everything I've ever said, like, hey, would you mind helping me out here? Would you mind? He sends us soft-baked cookies. I said, how long did it take you to get here? 8 hours. 8 hours? Yeah, but it was a quick 8. A quick 8. This dude is salt of the earth. If you meet him today, you probably already have. You know he'd do anything for you. Randy in Ohio is our first. Take a photo. There you go.
I believe we have shots of people kind of figuring out in real time that they were a Hall of Famer, and it's really cool. There are some shots that you'll be able to see in the full version of the induction that we'll post to YouTube. But I agree, it was kind of a knock on the door type moment. Thankfully, I mentioned Tyrese Halliburton earlier in the recording. Thankfully, we didn't have a Eastern Conference Finals MVP moment. We had everybody was selected carefully, and we had everybody knew that they were inducted. So it's going to be a great tradition to continue. You could sense the buzz there of the people that, you know, want to contribute more and make their case for next year. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I think it's the best inaugural class we could possibly have, and
100%.
The special part also is that they all made it. You know, it wouldn't have the same effect if they weren't there in person. So the fact that they all were able to make it was so significant, and it's kind of like the original Cooperstown class. You know, you You see the photo of Ty Cobb and Babe Ruth and Walter Johnson, all together. You're like, those are the best options for that inaugural class. So I love it, and it had people starting to talk. Who's the next class? Who's the next class? And I haven't gotten that far. We got a long ways to go, and there's resumes to be built, and it's all about interaction with the show and how much of a piece of the fabric of what we do you are. So you have to be interactive. You have to be, you have to show up. You have to be accessible. You have to be kind of part of the fabric of the show. But, there was a couple of people at this Bob's Bar event that I thought have very strong cases for 2026.
I have a question. Speaking of fabric, will the jackets or attire change for the Hall of Fame over the years? Are you going to keep going to that same tailor and say, I need it by Saturday?
Well, now I have the blueprint on how to do this, and I will be far more ahead of the game. The way that I planned this, and the way that I plan a lot of things, is I create like the guidelines of like what needs to be done. And then instead of micromanaging everything, then I leave X percentage up to chance. And that's the way the show has always been. Like, I like to build hard lines around everything. And I say, okay, this is the open. This is what we play every hour at this time. This is what we do on Tuesdays at Trash Tuesday. This is how the Friday thing works. This is how the epic fail works. I like doing that. And then when we get to the show, when we flip on the microphones, then anything can happen within that structure. That's kind of how I planned this party. It was like I knew the cornerstones. I knew the foundation. But how the house is going to be decorated, I had no idea. And so I just kind of figured, like, it'll come to me. I'll figure this out as we get closer. And that's how I got to pick up signage from 2 CVS's and a Walmart the day before that are 30 minutes away from one another. And that's how the jackets worked. I probably got the jackets delivered on Monday, but I didn't get the patches until Tuesday. Then I had to get them. So anyway, I'll be far more ahead of this process now that we have the expectation. But yeah, I think it's got to be those jackets, because I want, kind of like the Pro Football Hall of Fame, that everybody has the same jacket over the years. So Randy in Ohio will have the same jacket as the class of 2029. I want everybody to look like the same. This is what you earn when you get into the DA Hall of Fame, the DA-lien Hall of Fame.
You know what? I'm realizing that was the stupidest question I could have asked. If you're trying to ask DA, should you change a uniform? I didn't know what the answer was.
That's exactly right. So that was great. And then that took us to Badlands. And Badlands was icing on the cake. I knew the party in my mind, what it was going to look like. I knew the Hall of Fame was going to be the crux of this. But then about a week and a half before, I said, Mraz, can you ask if Badlands will come? He's like, sure, why not? So he texted him. And of course, Badlands within 10 minutes goes, yeah, I'll be there. I said, wow, awesome. And the last time Badlands came, which was summer 2023, he drank a box of Dunkin' Donuts coffee, hot, box of Joe, and then ate those hot dogs and burped in Mraz's face. It was hideous. So I figured Badlands will drink for us because he's always up for the bit. So I told Mraz, okay, ask him if he would prefer a certain kind of soda. I want a 2-liter of soda. And he texted me back and said, Badlands says whatever you got. I said, okay, perfect. So I went to the grocery store near me, Price Chopper, and they've got all this generic soda, and then they've got like Fanta. And I said, I really wanted to drink 2 liters of strawberry Fanta. That's what I really want to see him drink, because it's disgusting. What could be more disgusting? But then I also bought him grape soda. I thought, maybe he wants grape. I'll let him choose. So I bring the 2 liters there. That was part of the haul that Randy had to bring from the hotel to the party. We had 2 liters of Fanta. So I'm going to put them in the cooler or the fridge. I forget. And they're just sitting out on the deck. So Badlands shows up, and I go, Badlands, hey, you don't mind drinking soda? He goes, no, not at all. I go, I'm sorry, do you need it cold? He goes, is it cold? I said, no, I can make it cold though. He goes, no, it's better that way. I said, it's better room temperature. He goes, yeah, it actually goes down smoother.
100%.
Okay. So Badlands, I said, which do you choose? And he chose the strawberry Fanta, chose it over the grape. I don't know what type of decision that is. But then, I mean, in true Badlands fashion, does he not put on a performance for the ages? How awesome is it that when the light goes on, he just rises to the occasion?
Let's play it right here.
Always rooting for him. He's been part of the DA show for a decade now or whatever. He's belched in Mraz's face.
Encore! Encore!
All right, fine. You can burp. All right.
Yeah!
Be big on Instagram, big on TikTok, big on Twitter. So make sure you want to get this right now. 3, 2, 1, charge!
Oh, shit. Oh my God! What? Yes, sir.
Mraz can never.
I know.
Oh my God. It's still so good. There are so many things I love from that video. Number one is the realization that is Matt in Calgary, who's closest to the camera. And he's like, oh my God. There's this realization that happens over the crowd, like we are really going to witness this. And as he's just slugging it and you're in person, you go, wow, in person, it's so impressive because you could just imagine yourself with 2 liters of soda and you're like, I could never, my body would explode if I ingested that much soda. And he just goes to town and never takes a breath. And it's so awe-inspiring in person. The second part of that is the kind of like crescendo that builds, people going, oh, 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 oh. And at the very end, Badlands burps up some of it and it starts splashing out of his mouth and onto his shirt. Which is just the best. And then he burps in Mraz's face, and Mraz, of course, gags, and he like blows the air towards Mraz. Oh my God. And you could not diagram a better party favor than Badlands showing up, drinking warm, disgusting soda and burping in Mraz's face. I'm sorry. To me, that will always be an iconic type of event that I will show up from miles around to see.
There's nothing more DA-lien, really, if you think about it. Underrated moment in the first few seconds. We've got the belt being shown off at the beginning, like we're about to do a
actual
heavyweight
Nathan's
fight.
Chug Championship belt that he brought from Coney Island. He actually won that, and there's Foxy in the background holding it up like he's, like he's Don King.
I'm the champ. I'm the champ. And for people that weren't there, he passed that around to everybody that wanted to take a picture and was just the nicest, most jovial person. Can't say enough good things about how many people he talked to. You don't realize until you're there, like, holy crap, that's Badlands Booker. And he's in the hot dog eating contest every year. That's how I, the primary thought and primary reason of why I know him. Obviously, he's a friend of the show. But he's in Nathan's 4th of July. You're going to see him every year. But now in the last, I don't know, handful of years, he's built this huge YouTube following with Badlands Chugs. And DA, the amount of people that saw my picture with me, Badlands, and the belt and messaged me separately, or even some of my coworkers who I went into the office the next day, like, Badlands Chugs, like, that's so funny. My family loves him. And Badlands Chugs, that guy's the man. That guy's a beast. And I was so happy to have people recognize him, obviously, first and foremost, but also say he was the nicest guy ever.
Badlands is a gem of a human being. And he showed up and he didn't expect anything. And he's a star. And he just was there for camaraderie and to take pictures with everybody and to chat. I said, what do you need? Nothing. I said, we got pizza. All right, I'll take a few slices of pizza. Sat down, chilled out. He's so jovial. He's such a kind guy. He fit in so perfectly. You know, this is why I can't stand Joey Chestnut, is because he has such an attitude and such an arrogance. And here's Badlands. He was so generous with his time. Everybody could touch the belt. Everybody took photos with him. At the end of the day, I said, you know, thank you so much for being so great to everybody. He goes, anything for you guys. He goes, I love you guys. Anything for you guys. He goes, just call me. And then he paused and he goes, have Mraz call me. Because I've never actually talked to him on the phone. I've only used Mraz as an in-between. So it was a very funny joke. But he's just an amazing guy and he's perfect. And how about this? Something that nobody knows. This episode's filled with a lot of good nobody knows yet until now. Backwards Brian grabbed the empty Fanta bottle, had Badlands autograph it.
No.
And it sits currently in his cubicle at work. He sent me a photo of this. And on the bottle, it says, do not throw out, not trash. Because, of course, the cleaning ladies will come through, janitorial service, they'll see an empty soda bottle, a 2-liter on a desk, and throw it out. And he had to say, no, no, no. This is a trophy. So that trophy is right now in a cubicle in Elizabeth City, North Carolina.
That is unbelievable. Again, I had no idea. You saved that for me. That is so great. And I could tell that he was one of the biggest fans of Badlands. Definitely got a picture with him. My picture with him, that's a great one. And like I said, it got a great pub on social media. Definitely on the dating profile right now. So you'll see that. And there are just so many reactions to that. And he was really the star of the show. As I said, I think the moment of the show in the afternoon that I was most taken aback by was Kristen Buffalo announcing that she was pregnant. But if there was a singular person that brought the house down, it was Badlands for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, before we wrap this thing up, let's go back and forth stars of the game, okay? You don't just have to have 3, but let's identify some stars of the game, okay? Number 1, Matt in Calgary and his wife. These two, they immediately just came, I think they came right at noon. And I said, hey, DA, and I couldn't put the face of the name because Matt in Calgary, Matt Carberry on YouTube, you'll see his comments all the time. He never has a picture of himself as the avatar anywhere. So I didn't know what he looked like. And he's like, hey, it's Matt. I was like, oh, nice to meet you. He goes, Matt in Calgary. And I was like, oh, Matt in Calgary, Matt Carberry, amazing. And they were so awesome. I've talked about this before. He gave me a bunch of candy from Canada. And it's in my freezer right now. I'm still eating it. It's delicious. There's all this Canadian crazy candy that we can't get in the States. Awesome. He gave Babs a hockey card that had acid on the back of it. So there was Babs who got a very special treat there. But Matt came bearing gifts. He was amazingly awesome. He went to the bar with us afterwards. After everybody wraps up at Bob's Bar at 6, a group of us decided to go to Mary Carroll's, which is the famous West Babylon haunt
you
that
stole
Mraz
one of my stars here.
has talked about, which I'm going to give it to you as one of the stars. But so he came to the bar afterwards. Him and his wife were going to fly out the next day. They missed their flight. Just like they had to stay for an extra day. They made a whole weekend out of it. The effort that they put in and the kindness and the type of people that they were. I think Kristen Buffalo said, did we just become best friends when she finally met Matt? And that's the type of person him and his wife were.
That's the type of person that really everybody is that showed up. As I said, hearts of gold. One of my stars, I'll do 2 here. We'll do like a snake draft because we can just go like a Brazilian steakhouse. We'll go until we run out of cards to give. And until one of us turns our card around. Yes, my next star was going to be Mary Carroll. I don't know where Mary is in the world, if she's still with us or not. But obviously the famous Mraz watering hole from back in the day. The only inspiration I had to go or reminder when I was driving down was when we were getting ready to do the show. This was about a week before the show. the Sunday before, we were going to do a full preview on Watch DA Live Sunday night, and I was getting some B-roll ready from past Bob's Bars to show as part of the production for the show. And a lot of those pictures came from DamonAmendolara.com, where there was a photo album put together of the whole thing. And on there, I was kind of poking around for this info, and there was a full one sheet of what to do when you get here type thing, when you get to Long Island. And you wrote this whole thing out, and, you know, where's the nearest hotel? Where's the nearest food and drink to go to? How do you drive in? How do you fly in? And one of the bars and restaurants around that you can go to. And Mary Carroll's was right at the top of the list. And I was like, oh, that's funny. I remember that, you know, that's a frequent watering hole of West Babylon. And I was like, oh, that would be great if we could do like a nightcap of Mary Carroll's, because we're going to wrap up around 6, 7 o'clock. And sure enough, not even my idea. I don't even remember suggesting it to anybody. But maybe it was Matt, maybe it was Sean, maybe it was Mary, the ghost of Mary herself, that wanted to do a trip. And game 2 of the NBA Finals was just tipping off, so a great excuse to go. That's 1 star for me. And then the next star that I'll give as part of the snake draft, Gordon in Vancouver, because the guy makes treks from Japan, as you just saw in that video. And this is a guy that, I sound like Chris Collinsworth here, but here's a guy, Mike, that travels far and wide, country to country, continent to continent to be here. But I'm not going to talk about all that. I'm going to talk about his drinking prowess. You can't get within a 10-foot radius of the guy, or else he's going to hand you another shot.
I know.
And it was dangerous, DA. With all the love in my heart to give to Gordon, he has so much love in his heart that he wants to share his Crown Royal with anybody and everybody. And he, I believe, said at the top of the afternoon that, yeah, I'm not really that much of a Crown guy. I just want to represent Canada and bring something Canadian. Well, you would have thought that it was like his second water, the way he was passing it around to everybody. So he loves to have a good time. And that's my next star of the game.
It's a great one. And Gordon in Vancouver, obviously flying from Vancouver for multiple Bob's Bars, but also bringing his wife and his grandson. They've now become part of the family. And he kept telling me, sorry, DA, I'm going to have to leave here soon. Sorry, I can't stay longer. I go, do not worry. You don't have to apologize. You were in Japan last week. You can leave whenever you want. And he's been blowing me up on social media about how much fun he had and how, you know, he considers everybody family. Absolutely great dude. How about the band, an American duo? They, for what they lacked in sound, perhaps, they made up for in fun. They didn't mind that we took over the mic. They didn't mind when we sang our own songs and did karaoke, basically. They didn't mind when we kind of were crashing their event, if you will, or their performance. And Robert sent me this message on Venmo when I Venmo'd him. Thank you so much, Damon. It should be illegal to have that much fun working. Everyone is just great, great, great. Proud to call ourselves DA-liens. Even the band, an American duo, is now considering themselves DA-liens. So I give Robert a lot of credit. He sang a bunch of songs that clearly he had not had much practice singing, because there were long pauses in the lyrics and catching out the music. And he wanted me to sing songs. Like, I was like, I can't really sing Semi-Charmed Life. I was like, but I love that song, so you do it. He's like, no, I don't think so. I was like, he goes, but you'll do it. I go, no. Like I said, I'm not going to do it. He goes, all right, then I guess we won't play it. I go, no, but I want you to play it. He's like, no, I don't do that song. And I was like, okay. So he was hysterical. They were hysterical. I loved having them there. I also want to give unbelievable kudos to Iron Man Sean, Chelsea, his wife, and Hallie, his daughter. They made the drive 2 years ago to Bob's Bar 2023 from South Carolina. I don't know how long it traditionally takes them, but it took them 18 hours driving back. Okay, and I think they hit some traffic in the city, but they made a weekend out of it. They are professional photographers. Chelsea's an amazingly talented photographer, has her own company. Sean then learned from her, and now they have Steel Tiger Media, where they actually photograph Clemson Tigers sporting events. They did all the photography for the show. He said months ago, do you guys want us to do photography? He DM'd me. I said, Sean, absolutely. 100%. I've seen some of the stuff that he's posted on social media, but, also like, we don't have a photographer. So yes, whatever you can contribute is great. And what they captured was so beautiful that it's amazing. It's really like we had Andy Leibovitz there at a Bob's Bar. It was extraordinary. So the whole family, they came to the show on Monday morning to watch from the studios, an invite that I offered any DA-lien that was staying over that night. But they were the ones that took me up on it. They were tremendous. So huge kudos. And they said, we'll be back. You guys are family. Everybody there was family. So I said, that's an amazing commitment that you'll just drive 18 hours each way every year for this and work as well. But they were phenomenal people. They are phenomenal people.
Great pick. The photography was amazing. Going back to singing, do you want to re-rack some of the Little Mo laugh from last week and some of the bad karaoke that we had to witness?
No question. Yes.
Let's do it.
Watching, waiting, comments are rated. Singing soul, my soul, turn the lights off, carry me home. Late night, come home, work sucks, I know. She left me roses by the stairs. Surprises, nothing though she cares. Singing so, I will not go. Turn the lights off, carry me home. Gloria, you're always on the run now. Running after, running after somebody. You gotta get out. Terribleness. I think you gotta go now, Gloria, before you start this ballad. Oh, you're down here too. I think you're headed for a breakdown. So be careful not to show it. I see you really don't remember. Was it something that he said? All the voices in your head calling Gloria, Gloria, don't you think we know that? Hear everyone mention. Why is it never coming? Leave them hanging on the line. Oh, calling Gloria.
Oh my God, that's so bad. I mean,
Apologies, because that ran long, but I couldn't find an edit point. I was like, you know what, we're just gonna do the whole thing because it's long and all of it is bad. So apologies to the audience because we just couldn't find an end point. It just got worse and worse.
It's just perfect that Mraz was singing Gloria, which has now become his signature. Also, very good Easter egg in there of when Babs is singing Blink and you're in the back in your permission granted t-shirt and you pump your fist. Yeah, we're into it.
Work sucks, I know. Who doesn't love that line?
Also, major kudos to Randy in Ohio for buying out the ice cream truck. He said, this is on me. Everybody at the party, ice cream was on Randy, which was absolutely amazing. What a kind and generous gesture that was. Avery in Las Vegas, I mentioned this the other day on Watch DA Live. He showed up on a red eye at 5 a.m. at JFK Airport in New York. He came out to the party. He partied all day with us and then caught an Uber at 6 o'clock. I assumed at 6 o'clock when the party ended, he was going back to his hotel. I said, yeah, Avery, come out to the bar with us. He goes, I can't come out. I go, why not? Just go back to the hotel. He goes, no, I'm going to the airport. I said, what? He goes, yeah, I got a flight tonight. I said, oh my God, you just came in for the day? He was in town. He was in New York for 13 hours, something like that. I mean, he flew from Vegas and then flew back. The time he was in the air, it probably equaled the time that he was actually on the ground. An amazing, amazing effort from Avery, aka 4K Worldwide. Such a great dude. Who am I forgetting here? I feel like we've touched on a lot of great stars of the game. Everybody was a star.
I was going to say the next one, and probably the last one that I had to kind of wrap it up in a fitting fashion, was the Ice Cream Man. You know, we've given Randy his flowers here, but so I'll twist it to give a star of the game to the Ice Cream Man, because not only did Randy pay for the whole ice cream truck, shout out to Mraz who coordinated. He's got the guy on speed dial, obviously, so I had to come make a trip. And in the ice cream line, there was a point where the line gets filled up. Everybody wanted to have some. So you get to have conversation with people in line and people that you hadn't maybe had a chance to talk to. I mean, Randy, I had enough conversation with, and it was funny that we were stuck in line together. And I'll try not to get too reflective here as I was during the moment, but the guy has this innate sense of knowing your vibe and knowing, you know, what you come from and who you are. And he knows how to talk to so many different people. As I said, that we had such a diverse audience there. There's people that come from all these parts of the world. And whether you're listening or whether you're there in person, he knows how to communicate with so many of them. And that's why he's a Hall of Famer. And we were talking in the ice cream line, and you know, had a nice moment where we were figuring out, you know, our stories and just how this community supports each other, the DA-lien friends and family. And he, you know, somehow, I've never seen anything like this or been in a conversation with someone where they just kind of like knew my whole life story before I even told it. And, you know, he said, you know, he has all these pearls of wisdom. Like, you can make all this money, but you can't take it with you when you die. You know, he told that to us on the way over to the show. So he had some gems about that, plenty of other pearls about other things. And he's like, yeah, you know, you're going to do all these things and you're going to rise up the ladder, and you're going to, you know, have this great growing up, and you're going to meet this guy, Damon, and he's going to, you know, bring you along for this crazy ride. And I was like, what? Like, because that's how, and he told the story in a way that I was like, yeah, that's what really happened. I grew up as a DA-lien, just as a fan, ended up somehow meeting this guy, Damon, through college and through this crazy internship in the middle of a freaking pandemic, and always stayed in touch throughout the years. And now that we get to do this crazy YouTube adventure on Sundays, and he just kind of laid it out and was like, this is what people mean to you. And they come from all these corners of the world, and you don't know who you're going to step into that's going to change your life. And, you know, I've always told you how much that you've changed mine. And that perspective also, you know, changed my whole psyche of the day, because you meet these people and you realize that it's not about the, you know, like you said, money that you make and accomplishments that you can add to the ladder. It's the relationships. That's the thing that I take from the whole day. And guy made me cry, because he just said, yeah, you're going to meet this guy, Damon, and laid this whole thing out. And I was like, how did you like read a book on me? And it made me emotional, because, you know, it's always been such a labor of love between the two of us with this show. And we've been open and honest about how much that we do it just for the love of the game. It's very much a passion project at certain ways. Of course, we're trying to expand with a merch store and members only content and ways to monetize in some ways without keeping the soul of the show together. But I just thought that was so poignant for a Hall of Famer of a guy, a Hall of Famer, of a DA-lien, a heart of gold, Randy, to bring me to tears in a way that I haven't broke down like that in a little bit. So he knows what's up. He knows that the relationships are the biggest thing that we can take from this life, and that's why this community is so great.
Yeah, well said. You guys were in line, and I'll never forget turning around near the gate, and I just see you red eyes. And I was like, Aidan, are you crying? And I yelled to Randy, Randy, what did you say to him? Because I know Randy is very reflective. He's very deep. He has these real pearls of wisdom, as you said. I said, what did you say to him? And, as a joke. But afterwards, Randy and I have texted, and I said, it was just such special people. And I said, you got memories forever. And I said, somehow you even had Aidan crying. And he goes, I don't even know exactly what I said, but he has an amazingly good, real, honest, loyal, dedicated heart. He gets it. And he gave me the strong emoji and the peace emoji and the heart emoji and the sunglasses emoji. I said, that's a good way to describe Aidan, which is why you're the perfect man for the job. And what I said on Sunday night, I'm just going to wrap up here with again. And I apologize if I didn't mention somebody that came, that showed up. Everybody that showed up, I can't thank you enough for showing up. But the quality of individual that showed up put me on a natural high for a full week. I mean, I felt that for a full week. And it continues. Like, it doesn't dissipate or evaporate. But for days on end, I just felt like I was walking on air because of the support and the type of people that were together that got to meet one another, hang out with one another. Also, Carlos with a K and Shep and Zach Gelb, they showed up from the old place. They didn't have to show up to this. Greg Caserta, they all showed up. And just having those people around with the listeners, and everybody was equal. No egos, no arrogance, no anybody's above anybody else. Just everybody as one is something that's so unique and so special. So if you were there, you felt that, and I'm sure you felt that same vibe that I had, just on cloud nine for days of like, man, I was just around great people. And I joked about this on Sunday night, but it's true. I'm not around a bunch of people that I uniformly really like often. My family, there's always somebody that shows up. I'm like, oh, they're showing up? Okay, great. At work, it's always like, oh, I'm probably going to see that person in the hallway. Great. Rarely are you ever in a situation where everybody, if you said siphon off and talk to that person for a half hour, be like, great, can't wait to catch up. Great, that's a great person. That's what this was. So if you're thinking about coming out next year, obviously we're going to keep doing this, but just know when you come out, you leave with family. You just leave with people that you feel like you've known for 20 years because they're all super high caliber people, which is why I'm very proud of what we do, is that it attracts that. If this is some type of lantern, and the moths that come are attracted to something that we do, these are really high caliber moths. These are like the best moths in the forest. These are the best moths that are out there. It is just incredible. Everybody was incredible. Every single person was incredible. And that says a great deal about the audience and the DA-liens. So it was awesome, man. And I could do another hour on this, but we've spent like 20 minutes on Sunday. Now we've done an hour and a half here. So I think we probably maxed this thing dry. It's almost 2 weeks later. So at some point we got to stop talking about it. But it will last forever because this was the first one untethered to the radio. This is the first one. Now, November was kind of that, but again, it was still so, connected to the, the radio show at CBS. And this one was its own entity. It was not at Bob's Bar. It was at Upside Down Mike's. It was kind of its own thing. And it was beautiful. It was awesome. And I really should say the November one was as well kind of untethered to the radio, but like this one was its own. That one kind of came together within 3 weeks. It was the shotgun marriage. This one was a year in prep and what it was going to look like, what it was going to feel like, what it was going to be. And what it was beautiful. It was amazing. And this is also a shout out to Bob and Nancy because they showed up to Mike's and there's a little twinkle in their eye that they missed hosting. So we know that feeling, and they're awesome people as well. And it was so nice. They walked through like royalty. This was the king and the queen, Bob and Nancy. And the best part was, even though they probably felt a little bittersweet about not hosting, they didn't have to clean up at the end of the day. So that one, that's That's a beautiful thing as well. So it was awesome. Can't wait to do it again next year. To all the DA-liens out there that showed up, thanks so much. To all that watched on YouTube, thanks so much. And to all that will show up in future events, thanks in advance. That's going to wrap us up for the Bob's Bar 2025 recap show. We'll see you Sunday nights on Watch DA Live right here on this YouTube channel. Remember to stay subscribed or subscribe if you're not subscribed to be one with the channel. Be good. Be good to one another. The mothership disconnects.